He stood at the foot of the hospital bed, hands clenched, breath shallow. Too late to hide behind money now. She didn't look at him. She was holding the babies he had walked away from. Machines hummed, lights flickered. In that room, power meant nothing. Love was no longer theoretical. And the question wasn't whether he was their father, but whether he deserved to stay. Rain pressed itself against the tall glass windows like it had something urgent to say. The sound filled the house, soft at first, then heavier, relentless, turning the estate into a hollow shell of echoes and shadow. Midnight had passed unnoticed. The clocks were quiet. The world outside had narrowed to water, darkness, and breath. Irene moved through the corridor with measured steps, mop gliding across polished marble. The scent of lemon cleaner mixed with rain-soaked air seeps in through the vents. Her sleeves were rolled just below her elbows. Her hair was tied back, neat, practical. Nothing about her asked to be seen. She cleaned as if silence were a language she spoke fluently. In the living room, a single lamp burned low. Graycroft sat at the edge of the sofa, jacket still on, tie loosened but not removed, as though he hadn't earned the right to rest yet. His shoulders were slightly hunched. Papers lay untouched on the glass table. The city lights beyond the window reflected faintly in his eyes, but they didn't soften them. His hands trembled. It wasn't dramatic, just a subtle, betraying shake at the knuckles, like exhaustion finally slipping past discipline. Irene noticed it instantly. She always did. Not the wealth, not the power, the fractures. She paused, mop still, breath steady. He didn't hear her. Rain was louder than footsteps tonight. For a moment, neither of them moved. The house held its breath with them. Electricity hummed in the space between, restrained, careful, almost reverent. The kind of tension that came not from want, but from recognition. Gray finally spoke, voice low, rough around the edges. "You're still here." It wasn't a question. "Yes," Irene replied simply. She resumed cleaning, tone even, no apology, no explanation, just truth. He turned his head slightly, enough to see her reflection in the glass. She wasn't looking at him. She never did unless necessary. That was what unsettled him most. She treated him like a man who could break, not a name that couldn't. "You don't have to stay this late," he said. "I know." Plain, unafraid, respectful, without submission. Her words landed heavier than flirtation ever could. Gray stood, slow, as if the movement required negotiation with his own body. He loosened his tie further, then stopped. His gaze tracked her hands instead, steady, capable, unassuming. The way she moved through his space was like it didn't belong to him alone. "You should go home," he added, quieter now. Irene nodded, finally lifting her eyes to him, dark, thoughtful, not asking for permission, not searching for approval, and just meeting him where he was. In a minute. Something in his chest tightened. She was dangerous, not because she wanted him, but because she didn't reach for him at all, because she saw him when no one else did and never tried to claim more. The rain intensified, striking the windows harder, as if urging them forward or warning them back. Irene finished the last stretch of floor and straightened. The room felt smaller suddenly. The air is thicker. She took one step toward the door, then stopped. Her hand moved to her stomach, just once, brief, protective, unconscious. Gray noticed. "What is it?" he asked. She didn't answer right away. Her fingers pressed lightly, grounding herself. When she spoke, her voice was softer, but no less steady. "Gray?" She turned to face him fully now. The rain roared behind them. "I need to tell you something." The words settled between them, fragile and irrevocable. Some moments change a life not by what is said, but by what someone is too afraid to hear.
Enjoying the story so far? Whether you're listening while trying to catch some sleep, getting through your chores, or just taking a quiet moment for yourself, we're glad you're here. Take a minute and tell us where you're watching from in the comments, and stay with us for more stories like this.
Love didn't arrive all at once. It slipped in quietly, the way light changes a room before anyone notices. It looked like mornings that started before dawn, when the estate was still half asleep. Irene was wiping down the long kitchen counters, while Gray stood at the sink, sleeves rolled up, staring into a cup of untouched coffee. No conversation, just the shared rhythm of breath, the hum of the refrigerator, the faint sound of birds outside. She noticed the dark crescents under his eyes long before she noticed the watch on his wrist. Some days, she would leave a plate of food near his office without a word. He never asked her to, she never announced it. When he found it later, cold but untouched, something in his chest eased anyway. It wasn't the gesture, it was the absence of expectation. Gray's world was loud by design. Meetings, calls, names spoken with reverence or fear. But with Irene, everything softened. His voice lowered, his movements slowed. He stopped performing. She never asked where he'd been when he came home late, never asked what deal had hollowed him out that day. She simply noticed when his shoulders were tight, when his jaw clenched too long, when his hands shook as he set his phone down. "You didn't eat," she said once, passing him in the hallway. He paused, looked at her like she'd read something he hadn't said out loud. "I will," he replied. "You say that every time." Not accusing, observing. He watched her walk away, something unfamiliar stirring behind his ribs. She didn't need him to be impressive. She needed him to be honest, even if only in pieces. That was when he started letting the guard down. Not all at once, never completely, just small concessions. Sitting instead of standing, removing his jacket before she finished cleaning, exhaling when she entered a room. Their conversations were brief but weighted. "You're tired," she said one night. "So are you." She shrugged. "That's different." "Why?" "Because I expect it." He laughed quietly then. The sound surprised them both. The chemistry lived in what didn't happen, in the space where a hand almost brushed another, in the pauses where neither filled the silence, in the way he watched her leave a room as if she took something with her. The kiss happened without ceremony. One late evening, rain again, the house hushed and dim. She handed him a folder he'd left behind. Their fingers touched, just barely. Electricity flared, sharp and startling. "Sorry," she murmured. "For what?" he asked. "For that." He didn't move away. Neither did she. It wasn't hungry. It wasn't claimed. It was soft, brief, almost uncertain, as if both of them were asking permission without words. When it ended, they stood there, foreheads close, breathing unevenly. "We shouldn't," Gray said. "I know," Irene replied. Respect settled back into place like a boundary neither crossed lightly. But fear had entered the room with them. From then on, Gray hesitated, pulled back just a fraction too often. His phone rang more. His family's presence loomed in quiet reminders, names on envelopes, conversations behind closed doors, a legacy that pressed down like a hand on his spine. Irene noticed the shift. She didn't confront it. She simply held herself a little farther away. That night, long after the house went dark, she sat alone in the small bathroom of her room. The light buzzed faintly overhead. Rain traced thin lines down the window. She stared at the pregnancy test in her hand. 2 lines. No tears came. She inhaled slowly, deeply, then held her breath longer than she should have. The rain had stopped by morning, leaving the estate washed clean and unnervingly bright. Sunlight spilled through the tall windows, too sharp for what Irene was carrying inside her chest. She stood in the doorway of Gray's study, hands folded loosely in front of her, posture calm enough to be mistaken for certainty. Gray looked up from his desk. He hadn't slept. She could tell by the way his eyes didn't quite focus, by the coffee gone cold at his elbow. "You wanted to see me?" he asked. "Yes." Just one word. No tremor. No apology for the interruption. He gestured for her to come in. She didn't sit. Instead, she remained standing across from him, the wide desk between them like a deliberate boundary. For a moment, neither spoke. The house hummed quietly around them, distant footsteps, a door closing somewhere far away. Life continues, indifferent. "Irene," Gray said finally, his voice measured, "what's going on?" She inhaled once, deep, steady. "I'm pregnant." The words landed without drama, no build-up, no explanation wrapped around them, just the truth placed gently on the surface between them. Gray didn't speak, his face drained of color, not with anger, not with disbelief, but with something closer to vertigo. His hand tightened around the edge of the desk. For a brief, exposed second, the control he wore so carefully slipped. How? He stopped himself, closed his eyes, opened them again. How far along? Almost 8 weeks. She watched him absorb it, watched the calculations flicker behind his eyes, the futures collapsing and reforming too quickly to hold. "I'm not telling you because I need anything," she said quietly. "I thought you deserved to know." He stood abruptly, chair scraping back. The sound felt too loud. "This," he ran a hand through his hair, pacing once before stopping in front of the window. "This will destroy everything." The words were precise, careful, devastating. Irene didn't flinch. "My family," he continued, not turning around. "The board, the staff, they will tear you apart for this, for me." She said nothing. She hadn't expected comfort. She had expected honesty. "I don't know how to protect you from this," he added, softer now, almost pleading. "I don't know how to protect any of us." Silence swelled between them, heavy and aching. Irene stepped forward before she could stop herself, just one step, close enough to see the tension in his shoulders, the way fear had hollowed him out. "Gray," she said. He turned. For a heartbeat, they stood too close, the air between them charged. His hand lifted, instinctive, unthinking, as if to reach for her arm, her shoulder, something solid. He stopped himself. The almost touch hovered, unfinished, then fell away. Love was there. It pulsed, undeniable, desperate, but courage was not. "I can't do this," he said, voice low, not unkind, just defeated. Irene searched his face one last time, not for love, but for resolute. When she didn't find it, something inside her settled into place, not shattered, chosen. She nodded once. That was all. No argument, no accusation, no tears to make it easier for him to feel righteous. She turned and walked toward the door, her steps unhurried. Gray watched her go, every instinct screaming for him to stop her. He didn't. The door closed softly behind her, the sound final as a verdict. Some love dies not from hatred, but from fear, choosing silence. By the 6th month, Irene left the way she had lived there, without noise. There were no raised voices, no slammed doors, no staff whispering behind corners. She packed her things early one morning while the estate still slept, folding her clothes with the same care she gave everything else. Uniforms first, then the dress she wore on her one night off, the necklace last. The chain caught on itself as she lifted it from the drawer, a small break near the clasp. She stared at it for a moment, then set it down instead of fixing it. Some things, once fractured, didn't need mending to be understood. By the time the sun rose, she was gone. Her new apartment sat above a closed bakery, the smell of old sugar and yeast lingering in the stairwell. One room, thin walls, a window that rattled when trucks passed. It wasn't beautiful, but it was hers. She learned the sounds quickly, the neighbor's radio, the pipe that knocked twice before settling, the hum of the streetlights at night. She found work at a private clinic across town, cleaning again, different floors, different faces. No one asked her questions she couldn't answer. No one knew her name beyond the badge clipped to her chest. Watson, Irene. She kept her head high, always. Prenatal appointments became a rhythm. Early mornings, plastic chairs, the smell of antiseptic and coffee. She sat alone in waiting rooms filled with murmured conversations and shared glances. Sometimes she watched couples argue quietly over pamphlets. Sometimes she watched women hold their phones like lifelines. No one sat beside her. The nurses asked for the father's information more than once. Each time, Irene smiled politely. "I'll leave that blank." They looked at her differently after that, curious, sympathetic. She met neither with explanation. She refused to use Gray's name, even in the privacy of her own thoughts, refused to let it become a crutch or a wound she worried open daily. She told herself names carried power. She was done giving him more than he'd already taken. When the bills started stacking, she didn't call him. When the nights grew heavier, she didn't text. When her back ached and her feet swelled and fear pressed close in the dark, she sat up in bed, one hand on her stomach, breathing through it alone. Money came and went, pride stayed. A letter arrived once, cream paper, heavy envelope, his handwriting unmistakable even before she turned it over. She didn't open it. She slid it into a drawer and never checked if it stayed there. The broken necklace lay on her dresser, untouched. Each morning she passed it on her way out the door. Each night she came back and left it where it was. A quiet reminder that some things didn't need repairing to keep their meaning. The rain changed as the months passed. What had once fallen warm and loud turned sharp and cold, needling through coats and settling in bones. She adjusted. Thicker socks, slower steps. Her body growing heavier, stronger, reshaping itself around the life she carried. At the clinic one afternoon, the doctor frowned gently at the screen. The room smelled faintly of sanitizer and printer ink. The machine hummed softly. "Just a moment," the doctor said. Irene's heart thudded, sudden and loud. She clenched her hands together, nails pressing into her palms, not in panic, but readiness. Then the doctor smiled. "Well," she said, turning the screen slightly, "that explains the extra fatigue." Irene leaned forward, breath caught halfway between ribs. There are 2 heartbeats. Irene's body no longer let her forget. The twins carried low and heavy, a constant pull that slowed her steps and shortened her breath. Her feet swelled by midday, her back burned by evening. Sleep came in pieces, broken by pressure, by heat, by the sharp awareness that there was no one else to take a turn with the worry. She adjusted anyway. She learned how to lean against counters without looking tired, how to roll onto her side slowly at night, one hand braced against the mattress, the other instinctively protective. She learned which bus seats hurt least, which clinic chairs didn't cut off circulation, and which foods stayed down. Strength became practical. Some nights, when the city quieted and the apartment above the bakery smelled faintly sweet, she spoke out loud, not prayers, promises. "I won't make you feel like a secret," she whispered once, palms spread over the curve of her stomach. "I won't teach you to shrink," she knew another night. "You will never beg for belonging." Her voice never shook when she said it, even when fear pressed close, even when the future felt too wide to carry alone. The doctor began watching her more closely, more appointments, longer pauses while reading charts, words spoken carefully. "Twins can come early," she explained gently. "We'll need to be cautious." Caution meant rest Irene couldn't always afford. It meant missed shifts, fewer hours. It meant sitting still while anxiety paced circles inside her chest. At night, contractions came and went, false alarms at first, tightening, release, tightening again. She timed them with the ticking clock on her wall, jaw set, refusing panic. Across the city, Graycroft moved through rooms that felt too large without her presence anchoring them. The estate was immaculate, silent, every surface gleamed, every system functioned. He slept in the master bedroom now, alone, the bed untouched on one side. He worked later than necessary, not because there was more to do, but because leaving the office meant returning to the echo of what he'd lost. Silence followed him. It lived in the kitchen, where a plate no longer waited, in the hallway, where footsteps no longer slowed his stride, in the way no one told him he looked tired anymore. He replayed the conversation he'd failed daily, not the words he'd said, but the moment he'd stepped back, the almost touch, the choice. Fear had felt responsible then, mature, strategic. Now it felt small. Her restraint haunted him more than anger ever could have. The way she hadn't demanded, hadn't cried, hadn't tried to punish him with spectacle. She had simply removed herself, and with her, the version of him that wasn't hollow. He wondered how heavy her body felt now, if she slept, if anyone noticed when she was exhausted. He never called, because calling would mean facing what he'd already lost. The night it happened, Irene woke to pain that didn't fade. Not tightening and releasing, but pressure, sharp, insistent. Her breath hitched as she sat up, hand flying to her stomach. The room felt suddenly too small, the air too thin. She checked the clock, timed it, once, twice, too close. Her phone slipped in her grip as she dialed the clinic. The nurse's voice sharpened immediately. "You need to come in, now." The cab ride blurred, streetlights streaking past rain-streaked windows, her breathing shallow and controlled. She focused on not panicking, on staying present, on the promises she'd made. The hospital doors slid open in a wash of white light. Voices, shoes squeaking, a wheelchair. As she was wheeled down the corridor, fluorescent lights flashing overhead like warnings, one thought pressed louder than the rest. She was still alone. And yet, she didn't reach for her phone. What does love mean when no one is there to witness it?
Graycroft did not hear her name spoken aloud. That was what made it worse. He was crossing the east wing late, jacket over his arm, mind already elsewhere, when the sound reached him. Not voices raised, not gossip. Something quieter, careful, concern. Two housekeepers stood near the service stairs, backs half turned. One held a small envelope, the paper thin from being folded too many times. Another slipped a few bills inside before passing it on, eyes darting the way people look when they don't want to be seen doing something kind. Gray slowed without meaning to. "Doctor said it's early," one murmured. "Twins," another replied softly. A pause. Then, lower still, "She won't ask him for help." The hallway seemed to tilt. Gray stopped fully now, heart striking hard against his ribs. His name hadn't been said, but it didn't need to be. The words rearranged something inside him, sharp and irreversible. She won't ask him for help. Not pride, protection. He saw it then, not as a theory, not as something softened by time, but as a truth he had refused to touch. Irene hadn't left to punish him. She hadn't walked away to force regret or leverage sympathy. She had left because she understood what being unwanted does to a child, and she would rather carry everything alone than let that touch them. The envelope passed again. Someone added more. Someone else whispered about hospital bills, about complications, about how early twins could be fragile. Gray's throat tightened. Scandal had never frightened him the way this did. Public fallout could be managed, names could be shielded, money could fix most things. But this was the cost of his silence. He turned away before anyone noticed him standing there, walked until the ceilings rose higher, until the halls widened, until he reached a room with too much glass and nowhere to hide. He set his jacket down slowly, hands unsteady for once. Fear had dressed itself up as protection when he'd stepped back. Now it stood naked. He didn't call ahead, didn't ask questions, didn't bring assistants or drivers who knew his name. He left the estate in a quiet car, rain beginning again as if the night itself were circling back. The city blurred past, lights smeared across wet streets. He barely registered the drive. All he could see was her restraint, her steadiness, the way she had chosen dignity even when it cost her everything. The hospital rose out of the rain like a block of light and urgency. Gray stepped out of the car and stood there, rain soaking through his coat, the automatic doors hissing open and shut as strangers passed. For the first time in his life, he was unnamed, unannounced, unprotected by power. Just a man standing outside a place where the consequences of his fear were breathing without him. He didn't move. Not yet. The room was brighter than it needed to be. White walls, white sheets, machines blinking green and blue, their steady beeping too loud in the quiet. The air smelled of antiseptic and something metallic beneath it. Life measured and monitored. Irene lay propped against pillows, skin pale but eyes clear. Her hair was pulled back hastily, loose strands clinging to her temple. Exhaustion sat on her shoulders like a weight she had decided to carry rather than complain about. She looked smaller here. Not fragile, never that, but worn in a way only effort could carve. To her left, 2 incubators hummed softly, clear walls, tiny bodies swaddled in careful warmth, tubes and wires delicate as threads of glass. The twins slept, chests rising and falling in miniature rhythm, faces calm, untouched by the urgency that had brought them early into the world. Gray stopped just inside the doorway. He hadn't planned what to say. Standing there now, words felt obscene, too loud for a room where survival whispered instead. He took one step in, then another, slowly, as if sudden movement might shatter something sacred. Irene felt him before she saw him. Her eyes lifted. They met across the room and the impact was immediate, not explosive, worse, restrained. No anger flared, no accusation sharpened her gaze. There was only recognition and distance held with discipline, the kind that told him exactly how much he had already lost. Gray swallowed. His hands hung uselessly at his sides. His voice caught. He stopped. She watched him quietly,
breathing measured, as if she had learned how to steady herself against disappointment long before this moment. The machines filled the silence he couldn't. "You're here," she said finally. Not relief, not reproach, a statement. "Yes." He moved closer, stopping beside the incubators. The twins stirred slightly, one hand flexing open, then closing again. On instinct, Gray reached out, hesitated, and then slid one finger through the opening. The baby's hand wrapped around it, firm, certain, unafraid. Something broke open in his chest. The other twin shifted, mirroring the movement, fingers curling in sleep, calm, trusting. They didn't know him. They didn't sense absence or fear. They simply held on. Gray exhaled shakily, eyes blurring despite himself. Irene watched it all, the way his shoulders tightened, the way his breath changed. She didn't interrupt. She had learned patience the hard way. "I didn't want them to feel unwanted," she said softly. The words landed harder than any accusation could have. Gray turned to her, stunned. "Irene!" She shook her head once, not angry, resolute. "That's all. I didn't leave to hurt you. I left so they wouldn't grow up wondering why someone stayed halfway." Silence pressed in again, thick and heavy. Gray stood there, rein still clinging to his coat, his finger still held by a life that didn't know what he had almost walked away from. For the first time, he understood. This moment was not asking for words. It was asking to stay. Some truths arrive too late, unless someone chooses to stay.
The rain returned like a witness. It streaked down the hospital windows in uneven lines, blurring the city into something distant and unimportant. Inside the room, the machines continued their steady rhythm, indifferent to the way the air felt heavier now, charged, expectant. Gray let go of the incubator last. His finger slid free slowly, as if even that small separation required care. He turned to Irene fully then, standing close enough that she could feel the warmth of him without being touched. "I was afraid," he said. Not carefully, not strategically. The words fell raw, stripped of polish. "I told myself it was protection, that stepping back was responsible." His jaw tightened. "It wasn't. It was fear, and I chose it." Irene stared at him. Her lips pressed together, her breath hitching once before she could stop it. She had prepared herself for anger, for denial, for silence. She had not prepared for this. "I didn't want to need you," she whispered. "I didn't want them to need you." Her shoulders shook once, twice. Gray stepped forward instinctively, then stopped himself, waiting, giving her the choice he had denied her before. "I know," he said quietly, "and I won't ask you to forgive me. I won't ask you to trust me." He swallowed. "I'm asking to stay, and I'll prove it." The rain outside intensified, pounding harder against the glass as if echoing the moment. "I've told my family. They're not pleased. The board won't be either. There will be consequences." Irene looked up sharply. "Gray!" "I know. And I'm not stepping back this time." Something in his voice settled, solid, immovable, not defiant, chosen. "I won't hide them. I won't hide you. I'll stand where it costs me something." Silence followed, thick, trembling. Irene's breathing slowly evened out. She wiped her cheeks with the back of her hand, unashamed. When she met his gaze again, it wasn't with surrender. It was with assessment. "You don't get to be half present, not now." "I know." "And you don't get to decide what this looks like alone." "I won't," he replied immediately. The rain softened, easing into a steady hush. Gray reached out then, not hurried,
not desperate, and placed his hand over hers where it rested on the bed. His touch was warm, steady. He didn't let go, and this time, neither did she. Gray never apologized the way people expected him to. There were no grand gestures, no public statements, no attempts to rewrite the past with eloquence. Instead, things simply shifted. The bills disappeared first, quietly. No signatures attached, no acknowledgement requested. The hospital administrators spoke to Irene with a new ease, their voices careful but unchanged. When she asked questions, the answers were clear. When she declined help she hadn't agreed to, it was respected. Nothing came with conditions. The twins stayed longer than planned. Gray came every day, sometimes twice. He learned the sounds of the machines, the schedules of feedings, the names of nurses. He sat through long hours without checking his phone, his presence steady as if he were anchoring himself there. When his family called, he stepped outside. When his board pushed, he did not bend. Acknowledgement came without fanfare. The children were registered with his name alongside hers, not above it, not instead of it, equal, intentional, permanent. Irene noticed everything. She noticed how he asked before touching, how he waited for her to speak first, how he never assumed closeness, never reached past what she offered. Trust, she understood now, was something built in increments. One afternoon, rain tapping softly against the windows again, the twins slept in the small bassinets placed between their chairs. Their breaths were shallow but steady, fingers twitching occasionally, as if reaching for dreams. Gray sat on one side, Irene on the other. Neither spoke. Silence filled the room, not empty, but warm. It held the hum of machines, the muted sounds of the hospital beyond the door, the quiet certainty that something fragile was being handled with care. Irene watched Gray's reflection in the glass, the way his posture had softened, the way his eyes stayed on the children longer than anything else in the room. She shifted slightly, the movement small but deliberate. After a moment's hesitation, she leaned her head against his shoulder. Gray froze, not pulling away, not moving closer. He simply stayed, his breathing slowed, matching hers. The twins slept on, unaware of how carefully the space around them was being held. For the first time since she had walked away, Irene allowed herself to rest without guarding every edge. The future remained uncertain. Healing never moved in straight lines, but this was something solid beneath her. Sometimes love returns not loudly, but carefully, asking permission. Gray did not raise his voice when his family pushed back. He listened. He let them speak of legacy and optics, of tradition wrapped in concern. He let them warn him about headlines, about the board, about consequences spoken as if they were moral truths instead of preferences. Then he said, simply, "This isn't negotiable." The silence that followed was sharp, clean. He didn't argue, he didn't justify, he chose. The estate changed after that, not in architecture, but in intention. Rooms once sealed by formality opened. The staff moved with less tension, more ease. Laughter returned in small, unexpected places. The house stopped feeling like a fortress built to keep the world out. It became something else, a home redefined not by control, but by presence. Irene noticed the difference slowly, in the way Gray no longer hovered between decisions, in how he showed up without asking to be seen, in how the children were woven into the space naturally, no hiding, no hesitation, no quiet rules about who belonged where. He never rushed her. When she stayed overnight for the first time, he slept on the far side of the bed, leaving space like an offering. When she reached for his hand days later, it was her choice, not momentum, not pressure. That was when she knew. Not because fear was gone, but because it no longer made the decisions. On a quiet afternoon, light spilling through the windows in soft bands, Gray stood near the cradle holding both twins against his chest. One stirred, the other sighed in sleep, his arms curved around them instinctively, protective without possession. Irene watched from the doorway. She didn't feel the need to brace herself anymore, didn't count exits, didn't calculate what this might cost her. She saw him as he was now, not perfect, not absolved, but present, and present was enough. She stepped forward, resting her hand briefly on his back, grounding, certain. Gray turned his head slightly, meeting her gaze. No promises spoken, none needed. The future wasn't loud. It didn't announce itself. It simply stayed. This time, he didn't choose fear, and nothing he built mattered more than that.
Hey you, my fellow story family. Thank you for staying with us till the very end. We'd love to hear how this story made you feel. Would you have done anything differently? What did it teach you? If this story mirrors a season of your own life, feel free to share it with us in the comments. Stay close to this channel for more stories that speak of strength, love, and hope.